Arkansas, Texas A&M.
We're back for episode number 2 of The Real Deal with Devin Jackson. I'm joined by Stephen M. Smith once again, one of the goats for Touchdown Alabama magazine. Like I said last week, and by popular demand, we brought you back as well. You had a lot of great feedback from that episode 1, and we're here to bring you another great episode 2.
Appreciate the feedback from the first show, and we're going to get down to business. Devin, Alabama taking on those Ole Miss Rebels this week. Yeah,
a huge game for the SEC, along with Auburn, LSU, but especially for an Alabama team that coming off a 57-7 win, a dominating win against Arkansas State. But some questions entering into the Ole Miss game. Number one, Nick Saban talked in the press conference that Jalen Armour-Davis is out for the season, and that will take a huge hit to the Alabama secondary.
That will hit the depth in the secondary most definitely. Jalen Armour-Davis, a 4-star corner from Mobile, Alabama, played ball at St. Paul Episcopal High School. He was one of 3 very talented freshmen in, joining Patrick Surtain Jr. and Josh Jobe. And Armour-Davis, about 6'1", 6'2", 181 pounds. He's got tremendous range, somebody that Nick Saban was very much so high on. He hurt his knee, or he hurt a ligament in his knee during pregame warm-ups prior to the Arkansas State matchup. The injury will require surgery. We hope for a safe, speedy recovery for that young man, because Armour-Davis, a very special talent.
As we talk about depth, that's something that Nick Saban touched on in the post-game press conference against Arkansas State. Something about depth. And speaking of depth, we saw that some of the first-team offensive line for Jalen Hurts is staying out there and continuing to work in with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. Would that be a factor this week against Ole Miss? Some of that O-line starting to wear down in this long, grueling season?
That'd be something to watch out for, because you want to get the 2s and the 3s in there, get those guys some playing time. I understand the first-team lineup looks Rush, Pierce Baker, Jonah Williams, Jedrick Wills, Alex Netherwood, Lester Cotton, and with that being a great first-team group, don't get me wrong, Josh Casher can play. Josh Casher can play. Guys like Richie Pettibon can play. Scott Lashley can play at an offensive tackle. There are a lot of 2s and 3s on this offensive line that feel like they can contribute. Offensive line coach Brent Key has worked tirelessly with this entire group, so that will be something to watch out for. The first team does have a lot of chemistry with Tua Tagovailoa. I know Nick Saban wants to do right by Jalen Hurts to get him some reps in there as well, but at some point, especially as the SEC conference slate comes in, you got to figure out who is that quarterback we're going to go with long term to make sure the first team offensive line has its guy getting the reps in with that guy, and the second team and on down the line. The 2s and the 3s won't play in time, and a lot of those guys on that offensive line can't play.
Talking about, staying, cool under pressure. Talk about Jalen Hurts. He's caught a lot of caught a lot of flack from fans. Had reports surfacing that he would redshirt this year, but he came out and responded this Saturday against Arkansas State. And check out what one of his teammates had to say. Jonah Williams had to say about his quarterback Jalen Hurts.
Well, that's what I was talking about as far as him being a great leader and having a great attitude. Being a good teammate. That's what we expect out of him. He's always kind of been that way the whole time, he's been here. So I wasn't surprised at all to see him, be able to bounce back from a play that, it's tough to hold on the ball when you're getting helicoptered like that. So for him to be able to bounce back and drive us on the field, it's just what we've come to expect.
So we're back after that clip from Jonah Williams. Now, Stephen, you saw that, he had a lot of confidence in Jalen and a lot of confidence in the coaching staff that, they'll do right by Jalen. So in doing right by Jalen, do you think that continuing to play for him and continuing to lie his loyalty in the coaching staff and in the team is a right choice for him?
I look at Nick Saban, and I've said this a bunch of times, and he wants a strong quarterback room. I mean, I get it to have the one major quarterback that can do it all. Tua Tagovailoa seems to be the guy that can do that. But at the end of the day, Nick wants to look at Tua. He wants to look at Jalen. He wants to look at Mac Jones. I mean, heck, he wants to even look at Lane Hatcher, the guy you bring in from Arkansas, and think with any of these guys, I can put them out there and they can make some big things happen. I go back to the touchdown pass Jalen Hurts had to Jerry Jeudy of 7 yards in the back of the end zone. I've watched that clip about 9 different times. Jalen would have pulled the ball down, took off and ran with the moment the pressure when it came to his face. Or if you go back to the Clemson game for a minute here, Devin, when Cleveland Farrell gets into Hurts' grill, Hurts pulls the ball down, thinks he's going to take off and run, sees Calvin Ridley in cover, throws the ball for a touchdown. In the game against Arkansas State, stared down the blitz, took a shot, delivered an accurate football to Jerry Jeudy. Stuff like that is what makes me so proud that Alabama brought in a guy like Dan Enos to work with quarterbacks. I mentioned on a podcast a while back, he's not a Lincoln Riley, he's not a Lane Kiffin, he's not one of these flashy young names, but you talk about a quarterback cultivator, somebody that's going to break that ground up, build that quarterback up, and really cater to not just the skill set of the quarterback, but really teach that guy how to play that position. Dan Enos, the best in the business at doing that. He did it at Central Michigan with Ryan Radcliffe and Cooper Rush. Went to Arkansas, did the same thing with the Allen boys, Brandon and Austin Allen. Both of those guys put them in the NFL or put them in an opportunity to go to the NFL. Now he's with Alabama. He is maturing Jalen. He is helping Tua become very explosive. It's when you have a quarterback coach that knows what he's doing and can cultivate that skill set, Dan Enos was a big deal.
So talking about quarterbacks, talk about that Ole Miss quarterback, Jordan Ta'amu. He is an electrifying player for that Ole Miss offense, and you said before he's better than Shea Patterson, and we've seen, in the film that Shea Patterson has even struggled moving on to Michigan. And just talk about how Jordan Ta'amu can present problems for this Alabama defense this Saturday.
Nick Saban talked about it, Devin, his accuracy, his ability to throw guys open. And a lot of people felt like when Shea Patterson got hurt and moved on to Michigan that there would be an issue. There is no issue. Jordan Ta'amu has come in. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Phil Longo, offensive coordinator, has a lot of faith in him. So does head coach Matt Luke. And it doesn't hurt when you have a bevy of wide receivers led by the freak of nature and A.J. Brown. You've got DK Metcalf, Marcus Lodge, a sneaky good tight end, and Dawson Knox. No one talks about him, but he is sneaky good coming out the backfield, running precise routes, catching the ball on third down. They will look for him at times in the red zone. So having that bevy of receivers to match with the talent of Jordan Ta'amu, threading that ball downfield, and playing in Oxford, Mississippi, the craziest place to play on a Saturday. This week is going to be fun. CBS got a good game to do.
Talking about pressure, the kicking game for Alabama, it's been well documented in the last however long Nick Saban has been coached at Alabama that the kicking game has struggled. Yeah, and we saw Austin Jones struggle on Saturday, but we have some hope with Joseph Bolovis. He came in and made extra points and immediately got the crowd behind him. So how important is it playing against an Ole Miss offense that can score like that? How important is it for him to kick confidently, accurately, and to make sure that whenever Alabama gets down the red zone, they get points?
Joe B's got to be consistent, or whomever Alabama puts out there. Nick Saban mentioned again today, there's still confidence there in Austin Jones, which is very weird because he comes over from Temple, graduate transfer. The last 3 years of his career, we're talking about 80% or better on field goals. He had only missed 2 extra points throughout his career at Temple, 102 for 104. And to go from only missing 2 at Temple throughout your career to you missed 3 in the first 2 games at Alabama, the boos come in. So that's got to affect his confidence. But Bolovis, Woes comes out there, makes 5 extra points, nails a 39-yard field goal. I heard from a close friend of mine that when he made the 39-yard field goal, came to the sideline, flashed a smile, flashed a little dance or two. So Joe B showing some confidence that he can do this. Can he continue to do this will be the main question. Of course, Tide fans are excited for the 2019 kicker coming in, Will Reichert out of Hoover, Alabama, but that's still a way away right now. So you're hoping, you pray that Joe Woes can build off what he did against Arkansas State, carry it over against Ole Miss, because you need to have a guy that can consistently make within 40 yards. Bama fans don't need the 50-plus yard kicker. Now, if you can get that, that's icing on the cake, but where you make your money at Alabama is in between 40 yards.
A lot of this has been taken to that Ole Miss defense that gave up 41 points to Southern Illinois. But what should the Tide offense look out for when you talk about this Ole Miss defense that, gave up 41 points and a lot of people are writing off, but can play an important factor if they're able to cause turnovers?
I think the one thing for Alabama's offense is getting off to a fast start. They've done it against Louisville. They've done it against Arkansas State. Continue to do that. Get off to a fast start. Get the Landshark defense on its heels early. They don't have the horses that it had in years past under Hugh Freeze with guys like Isaac Gross and Robert and Denzel Kimdichie, Cody Pruitt, Sinquest Golson, the 5'9" dot that picked off Blake Sims in 2014. That matchup right there. Not a lot of the same talent in years past, but at the same time, defensive coordinator Wesley McGriff, they got talent down there in Oxford. So the biggest thing for Alabama, getting off to a fast start and sustaining that throughout the game. You can't have the penalties, you can't have the turnovers, you can't have the mental lapses on offense as well as defense. But since we're speaking on offense, Devin, having that fast start and establishing the tone early in the run game. And this goes to guys like Alex Leatherwood, Jedrick Wills, Lester Cotton. Establish that tone running the football early with Damian Harris. Expect him to be used a lot more this week with Najee Harris, with Josh Jacobs. I think that run game, playing smash mouth football, building off of that with Tua, setting that physical tone early is the key for Bama against Ole Miss.
Thank you again for another great episode. Stephen O. Smith joining me to talk about Alabama's huge upcoming game against Ole Miss. Make sure to check out his podcast, In My Own Words, the podcast. He just came out with some hot new stuff, so make sure to check that out. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Follow him on Twitter, Coaching Him Smith. Follow me on Twitter, RealD_Jackson. And make sure to follow the Alabama updates. We continually have more updates, recruiting updates from Justin Smith. Make sure to check out our website, tdalabamamag.com, and make sure to subscribe as well.
Get that subscription, only $5.95 a month, but it's all the Bama content you can want and more, and none of the things you don't want. So if you want to know what Nick Saban's hair color is, regardless of shape or form or fashion, tdalabamamag.com. Get there, $5.95 a month.
Make sure to subscribe to that website. You heard the man himself. Signing off for The Real Deal, I'm Devin Jackson, Touch Alabama Magazine.